performing CPR could save a life. Now, there are several ways to become certified in the UP. Ashley Kirkland is at UP Health Systems Marquette with more on what educational resources are out there. Ashley?
Good morning, Vicki. I am in the middle of my recertification class. We're about 30 minutes into the video, and I told you before I was certified in 2011, but you definitely want to re-up your education every 2 years, especially as the guidelines change. I'm here with CPR instructor Kurt Lesage. Kurt, thanks so much for being here this morning. Now, what kinds of CPR am I learning this morning? Because there's different stages.
We're teaching you the Heart Saver CPR program along with the AED. It's a program that we teach, the American Heart teaches out to the general public. There are different versions for different people throughout all walks of life. Healthcare professionals, we teach a BLS healthcare professional course, but for the general public, we like to stick with the Heart Saver program, which essentially it teaches you everything that's in the healthcare provider course, but it doesn't teach you two-person CPR.
Okay. And so when we see a person lying there, say there's an emergency, and what's the first thing we're going to do?
First thing we're going to do is try and wake that person up. So we're going to give them a little shake, a little shout, ask them if they're okay.
Are you okay?
And if they don't respond, we're going to ask someone, if there's people around, to call 911 and to get an AED.
Okay. And you recommend saying that loudly so they can hear.
Absolutely. Make sure that you make eye contact with that person so you know who you're talking to, and tell them, can you call 911? Tell them we have an emergency. See if there's an AED available at the location where this person has collapsed, and get that on scene as early as possible also.
Okay. And so when you say that another person that knows CPR is what you're saying, make sure that someone else is there that knows CPR?
Oh, no, have somebody go get that.
Okay.
Make sure that 911 call is made.
Okay.
And then if you know CPR, then you can start CPR until that AED arrives on scene.
Okay, so let's start the CPR process. After I get his attention or her attention, make sure they're non-responsive. What's next?
What's next is we look at that person, we give them a general overview. If they're not responding to us, then we open their shirt, we get on the lower half of that sternum, place our hands, we use the heel of one hand, we interlock our fingers, we get straight over the top of that person, and we're going to push down at least 2 inches in depth at a rate of at least 100 per minute. We're going to do 30 compressions, and then we're going to...
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
And then we're going to give them 2 breaths.
Is this the point where I tilt the head?
This is that head tilt chin lift that we talked about. We're going to pinch that nose off. Wow. Good breaths. And then we get immediately back on the chest. We don't want to interrupt those chest compressions for any longer than 10 seconds. So when we talk about giving those breaths, we want to try and get those breaths in as rapidly as possible. We're going to do 2 minutes of CPR like that, 30 compressions and 2 breaths, 5 cycles.
Okay. And we talked about Dr. Short. There were 2 other medical professionals on the scene that knew CPR. That's why it's important to make sure someone else can help. You say if you know CPR, offer to help that person.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that look up into the crowd if there's people around. If you can help, come in. We don't necessarily need to do 2-person CPR, but 2 minutes of CPR, as Ashley's learned this morning, can be very tiring. So at the end of that 2-minute cycle, it's nice that we're able to swap out and have somebody else do compressions and breaths for us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kurt. We're going to get this guy alive in no time. I'm going to finish watching the other part of the video, and we'll bring those instructions to you, Vicki. Ashley Kirkland reporting live in Marquette, TV6 News.
All right. Good job there, Ashley. Thank you very much.
Training in the past, you may need to look at updating your certification as guidelines have changed. Ashley Kirkland is back live from UP Health Systems with more information. Ashley?
Good morning, Sam. Now, I know you've used this as a pickup line before, but I know CPR, you can actually know it and get certified here at UP Health Systems. I'm back here with Kurt Lesage. Kurt, you've been teaching me, and I went through the video all morning. One question I had is, how can you assess if someone actually needs CPR?
You look at the patient, see if they're awake, try and arouse them, like we said, try and see if they get a response from them. If they're not looking at you, if they're not blinking, if they're not breathing, we look at them for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but no longer than that. And at that point, we would start compressions.
Yeah.
It's better to give someone compressions if they don't need it than not give somebody compressions when they do need it.
Absolutely, because Dr. Short, the doctor who saved the skier, he said his face was blue and he just thought he needed CPR.
Right.
Okay, so now we were talking about the AED. We're going to kneel down here. This is the AED that most businesses and schools have on hand. What is this going to help us with during the CPR process?
Well, during the CPR process, when that AED arrives on scene, it becomes a very important tool. It eliminates lethal heart arrhythmias. So, Ashley, I mean, you used it, you saw, you opened it, there was directions on the lid, the machine talked you right through the whole process.
Yeah.
There's pictures, it's very easy, very intuitive to use. It's a matter of getting the pads in place and turning it on and following the voice prompts that the AED gives you.
And if you are alone on the scene, you can call for help, but if you're alone, you're going to have to get this and call for help yourself.
If you're alone on a scene, and there's nobody around to help you, by all means, do 2 minutes of CPR, and at some point you're going to have to go get some help, make sure help's on its way. Cell phones have really, I mean, everyone has a cell phone now, so it's really easy to call 911 and get some help rolling while you're starting CPR. And if you do have an AED at your location, by all means, then get it on scene.
Okay. And the American Heart Association is trying out a new kind of campaign. It's called the two-step campaign. Explain to us what that's about.
Well, it's a hands-only CPR program, and it's really it's a nice little program for the general public. It gets them to recognize 2 major steps that need to occur in their chain of survival. The first step is calling 911, making sure help's on its way, and the second step is pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest at a rate of at least 100 a minute.
And that takes away the mouth-to-mouth, which a lot of people were kind of shying away from CPR because of that.
That scares most people, that mouth-to-mouth. So, yes, that gives them a way to continue to provide help for that patient and still make sure that help is coming.
Right. So you just press down on the chest and sing the Bee Gees, right?
The Staying Alive song still works. That'll keep to the tempo of Staying Alive will keep you at a rate of about 100 a minute.
Awesome. Kurt, thanks so much. Tell people where they can learn to get CPR certified.
We offer training here at the UP Health System School of EMT in Marquette. Our phone number is 906-225-7590, or their local American Heart Associations in their communities.
Okay. And I get to get my card this morning.
There you go.
All
set. Congratulations.
I can save a life.
You are all set to save a life, Ashley.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kurt. Stick around for more of your TV6 Morning News.